Really Truth, Survive and Advance, brought to you by MyBookie.ag. To get up to a $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit, go to the MyBookie.ag banner on the top of the GreeleyTruth.net page, click it, and like I said, up to a $1,000 bonus, 50% of whatever you deposit. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome him, my co-host, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Having fun out in Los Angeles. Sunny, beautiful day out here. Life goes on.
All right. And our guest today, as we talk a little 1980 Louisville Cardinals and then preview tomorrow's upcoming NCAA Final Four. First up, we have, of course, a frequent visitor, but not as frequent as Steve would like. So Steve stalks him on Facebook. Help me welcome to the show, Lukas Weese. How you doing, Lukas?
Oh, I'm doing well, Mike, and it's great to be back on the show. The road ends here. It's finally time for Final Four, and looking forward to the discussion today with our other guest.
And our other guest is also a member of the Indiana High School Basketball Hall of Fame and a 1980 national champion. Help us welcome to the show from the Louisville Cardinals, Poncho Wright. How you doing, Poncho?
All right. Good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Oh, we're doing great. And when we talk about the NCAA tournament, we talk about how 1979 Burden Magic, how it kind of elevated what the Final Four was. You played in the Final Four in 1980. What do you remember about that time? What's different? I mean, other than the fact they played that at Market Square Arena in front of like 19,000 people instead of in a dome in front of 60,000.
Man, it was. I mean, actually, the whole, culmination of that whole year was special because we had a really special team there. In the beginning, people weren't expecting us to be as good as we were. We won 33 games and only lost 3, and the 3 games that we lost were kind of like flukes. We really should have went undefeated, but we kind of lost at the right time of the year and peaked right at the right time to be able to take it on in. But, just being able to play at home in front of my family and all my friends and guys I grew up with playing against, it was special.
Yeah, and when you look at that tournament, those first 2 rounds for you guys were tough. You beat Kansas State, I think, in overtime. Texas A&M, I think, took you guys to overtime also. And then you guys blew out LSU, a team that Steve's Indiana Hoosiers would beat the next year in the Final Four. You want to talk a little bit about that tournament run?
That tournament run, it was pretty tough, and I think we let who was that thing? I can't even remember who we when he got Texas A&M. They had 3 horses on the front line. They weren't real tall, but they were real thick, strong guys, and I think that gave us a few little problems. But I mean, look, most of the time when games were like that, Griff usually just pulled us on through. Man, he was such a fantastic player.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about Darrell Griffith? Because I think he was one of the greatest college players that ever lived.
Oh man, the guy was fantastic. When I first got to play and practice with him every day, it was crazy. Some of the stuff that he was doing in practice and in games. I've seen him come down the lane and take off in 360 on a 7-foot guy in the lane. I'm like, good Lord. He was just he was a special kind of player, just a special kind of player.
Now, you were from Indiana, so what led you to go play for Denny, Crum in Louisville?
Well, actually, my top choices were Purdue and Indiana, and I was really leaning toward Purdue, but I think Fred Schaus had either retired or got fired the year that I was getting recruited. And he was the guy that had visited my house and talked to my parents and everything. And I think it was Lee Rose came in after him, and I didn't know much about Lee. I knew he was from Florida or somewhere down there. But and then Louisville, I got a lot of family. My extended family mostly lives in Louisville, and and I went down a couple times and played ball in the Louisville gym, like over the summer from high schools, and just met a lot of the guys that were playing down there at that time, and it was only those 2, and since Fred left, it couldn't be anybody but Louisville.
Hey, Poncho, of course, you and I, we went head-to-head in high school. You were at Marshall. I was at Lawrence Central. We had a lot of fun playing against each other. And you're one of the players I feared playing the most. I mean, I just think, man, of all the guys I got to guard or try and shut down or got to be afraid of, you were that guy, along with Mike Woodson at Broad Ripple.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I just wanted to bring that out. I remember we were high school rivals. You guys were the closest high school to us, I think. You were just down.
I know we were real. We were real close. Real close to you guys. But speaking of that, bro, you can be a little modest if you want, but I had nightmares before those Lawrence Central games. I had nightmares before those games because you were so dominant.
Was that because Steve was quite the cheap shot artist, Poncho, the way he claims he was? I mean, did you have to worry about like getting undercut or elbowed in the back of the head, anything like that?
No, not really, but it was Steve was the type of guy. Okay, if you look at dominant players inside of today, and you know how they would play, he was like the high school Shaq of our time. He was so dominant and so much stronger than everybody. And then he had I think it was Tyree Dickerson and the Petty Boys. They had a great team.
Petty Boys, yeah.
And what was the other guy? What was the other guy? Was it Myron Wynn? Some guy named Wynn.
Byron Wynn. Yeah, Byron Wynn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys had a strong team.
That was a great rivalry.
Yeah.
We were lucky that you were city and we were county, so we never faced you in the championships. In the city county championships, because you guys played in the city championships. We played in the county championships. It was always a little different. So I was glad not to have
playing East Grove. You guys play. Did you guys ever play Roger Berkman?
Yeah, matter of fact, I know Roger was on your roster. Roger and I were good friends. We used to go down to Franklin, and Roger's mom would cook up a big old feast for everybody, and we'd all go down to Franklin where he lived, and we would play basketball all day long with Roger and Kenny Montgomery and Joe Brown and all those guys. We would all get together, and we would play all day long, and then we'd go to Roger's house. And Roger's mom would just feed us all, and we'd all drive home at night, fat and happy.
She was a sweetheart. She was a real sweetheart.
Yeah.
Speaking of, go ahead.
Talk about Denny Crum. I've always admired Denny Crum as a basketball coach, and always thought that. He was a class act. I think, from what I get, he and Coach Knight got along fairly well. I don't think there's any issues between those two.
Nah, he liked Coach Knight.
How was Denny Crum to play? Yeah, how was Denny Crum to play for?
Denny was it was fun to play for Denny. So cool, calm, and collected that people thought he had this laid back attitude, but man, if you'd have been in some of the practices, this guy got after it, man. He just wasn't as stern as Coach Knight, but he was pretty stern. And he'll sit your butt down for a minute. If it called for it, he'd sit you on your behind, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe his best coaching job was 1981, the year after you guys won the national championship, because if I remember right, you guys started off like 2-7, and then went on a run and only lost like one game the rest of the year until the tournament.
And believe me, starting out at 2-7, we saw a lot of lines in practice. We ran a lot of lines in practice. I think when we were playing, when our record was 2-7. I think there have been practices when we never picked up a basketball.
So what turned that team around?
I think it was just us knuckling down more. We had won it, so we were too cocky, and we thought, we just knew we were good. I mean, Griff was our number one player, but we had some great players that had to take a back seat to Griff just because he was so great. And and practicing against him and playing every day, and then we see what he accomplished, that made us get a little cocky, because we're like, dang, he's second player taken in the draft. He's killing these people's playing so great, so we can't be far behind. So we got a little cocky, and then, it just didn't happen. And I don't think I think that year we didn't start out running that full court press. Our full court press won a lot of games for us.
Yeah, and when you got to the tournament, you lose to Arkansas 74-73.
Oh.
And wasn't that the U.S. Reed game where he hits like the half court shot at the buzzer to win it?
Yeah, that was the U.S. Reed Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Because we was planning on meeting Steve and them in Philadelphia.
Yeah. U.S. Reed got in the way. Oh, listen to Risley.
I'm
in touch with him too periodically.
Who, U.S. Reed?
Yeah, I talk to him and his wife periodically. He still lives down in Arkansas. He's doing some kind of so he's got some business going in Arkansas.
Yeah, but that was, I think, one of the iconic shots in NCAA tournament history. Lukas, you're kind of young. Do you remember that shot? I know you don't remember it, but have you seen it?
I have seen it on YouTube. It is quite legendary.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like it much because I'm the guy with the hands up trying to stop him from, or impede his shot, even though he was all the way down there. So I hate looking at that.
Yeah, and then 1982, you guys as the 3 seed. And this was the interesting thing that I remember about this, because this is the year that Middle Tennessee State upset Kentucky, and you guys were set up to play Kentucky in the second round, and I don't think you guys had played Kentucky since, like, the late 1950s. I think it was 1959. Was it kind of a letdown that Middle Tennessee State showed up for that game instead of Kentucky?
Not really, because Denny was trying to schedule them for games every year, and we kind of knew, they knew what kind of team we had. They didn't want no part of us during that time. And I think I think the one at Middle Tennessee, I think we played that game in Vanderbilt. Steve, wasn't you guys down there also in Vanderbilt that year?
No, Steve was gone then. Indiana was there because they got upset. Because Steve had already graduated.
I'm thinking 81, because you remember when we played, it was 4 teams that played. You guys played somebody, and we played, I think it was Middle Tennessee.
I think you're getting mixed up with 82, because in 82, Indiana played UAB at Vanderbilt. Indiana got upset by UAB. You guys beat Middle Tennessee.
Right, okay, so that was 82. Yeah. That was 82. I'm getting old. My mind isn't what it used to be.
I know. I deal with Steve, and he's like a year older than you, and it's like really taking care of an invalid sometimes. It worried me because the only person that didn't laugh there was Steve. But 1982,
I laughed.
We talk about the teams in the Final Four this year with the Texas Tech, Virginia, Michigan State. They're known for their defense. But in 1982, you guys played one of the greatest defensive teams in college basketball history. That would have been the Georgetown Hoyas. And in their tournament run, I don't think people realize this, but until the national championship game, nobody broke 50 against them, including you guys. They beat you guys 50-44 in a hard-fought game. What do you remember about that game and playing against Pat Ewing?
Hard-fought game. And real, Ewing, that particular year inside, I think he was probably more intimidating of a player than he was ever in his previous year playing, and also in the pros. He was that guy was so dominant. He took up so much space, and then they had good athletes around him. They had a really good team. Really good team.
And if it wasn't for the Fred Brown mistake on the pass in the championship game, they may have won the national championship that year.
I think they would have got it, because I think they would have went inside the Pat. And they would have had, if they wouldn't have, I'm telling you, he was so dominant that he could have just turned around and shot over any of those guys. They would have had to foul him. He's an excellent free throw shooter. So, I think just for that mistake, they lost.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about this year's Final Four. Do you want to stick around and break it down with us, or do you want us to let you go?
Well, I'm still on the freeway, so I probably have to go because I'm pressing my luck with the police not coming back. You know, they treat you like Al Capone if you're on your phone on driving.
Yeah. Well, you want us to let you go then? We'll take a commercial break, and we'll come back, me, Lucas, and Steve, and break down the Final Four.
Okay, can you guys do that? Because it's getting really crowded.
Yep,
You know how
that's
the LA
fine.
traffic is.
All right. Thanks a lot,
You guys
Poncho.
can call me back anytime. You guys can call me back anytime, man.
We will definitely do that, especially if we could get you on the phone with U.S. Reed.
Hey,
That'll be
Poncho.
great. I have to. When I talk to him, I'm gonna have to give him your podcast.
Yeah, give it to him, and I'd love to have U.S. Reed on.
Yeah, I'll
Poncho,
give it to him next time I talk to him.
Congratulations on your election into the Hall of Fame. That's I actually got my ring yesterday for being in the Hall of Fame. Mine came yesterday.
Oh,
so
did?
Congratulations to you too, and make it So.
Good, man. I knew you were probably in. I was for sure you was in there. My high school coach Roger Schroeder, man, was pushing that so hard. I mean, he was pushing it so hard. And he was like, but he felt like, we got my high school, we got 4 Hall of Famers in there. We got myself, my coach Roger Schroeder, Larry Bullington, and this girl named Diane Christensen that made the Indiana All-Stars, I think in 77 or 76. But my high school only built in 1968. And we've got 4 basketball.
Hey, how about
Hall of
this?
Famers.
Let's see
Wow.
if Steve knows his Indiana basketball history. Who was Roger Schroeder?
What's that?
Steve.
Oh, he knows. Steve,
I
you know, don't you?
Was.
You don't know who Roger Schroeder is, Steve?
Come on, Steve.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Steve, he played with Bobby Plump and the Miracle Milan team.
Oh, okay, there you go.
He was on. He never look. He always told me he never got to play though, so he gonna suck up all that he can.
Hey, Poncho, I had an advantage over Steve because I live like 15 minutes from Milan, so it's been beat into me every game on that team. Yeah.
Well, if you didn't know that, you would have probably took a beating. They love them so much down there.
Yeah, but
hey,
all right, Poncho, it was great having you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Hello?
No. Yeah. I had one more question, Poncho.
Yeah.
Is Marshall still an active high school? Did they shut it down, or is it still an active high school?
I think they shut it down. It became a junior high school because I worked over there for a little bit, and it became a junior high school. I think it went up to 7th and 8th grade, and then they took it. I think they took it. I don't think they ever took it back to high school. It was a community high school. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
But now it's they're shutting it down permanently now.
Yeah. See, and at Lawrence Central, I got to put up with this idiot Kyle Guy. You know, he's a Lawrence Central grad. You know, and I've
leading
got
scorer in Lawrence Central history
about
too.
Kyle. He's the second leading scorer in Lawrence Central high school history. He's the second leading. He's right behind you. You're the leading, don't you?
No.
Yeah,
Kyle Guy's number 1.
I got him by 100. I did it in 3 years, and he did it in 4
mean?
years. So I got him.
It means you weren't good enough to start as a freshman.
You got the bragging rights then. You got the bragging rights then, brother. You did it in 3.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, all I know is this: Lukas is going to be in charge after traveling to the Final Four to drop down south to Lawrence Central High School and do a little investigative journalism to see who the number 1 scorer is.
There you go.
Hey,
thanks, Poncho. Thank you very much.
You know what? Steve's got to be legendary over there, so they ain't gonna say nothing bad about him at all.
They don't know who I am. I went back to a high school football game, and they didn't even know. I still hold all the passing records at Lawrence Central High School for quarterback, and they don't even know I existed. They don't know who I am.
Really?
No.
Look. You know what you say to that? You say, "These damn millennials."
Yeah.
There you go.
Which Lukas is one of.
All right, Poncho. Y'all let me get out of here.
All right. Thanks a lot,
Call
Poncho.
me anytime, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Hey,
Poncho.
bye-bye.
I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, fellas. Okay, man.
Guys,
Bye-bye.
real quick, we're going to take a
All right.
commercial break to listen to the MyBookie commercial that Lukas Weese absolutely loves. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Mike Goodpaster from the Grueling Truth Sports Network, and I'm here with just one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth has recently partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website, who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on, and that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now and MyBookie will give you up to a free $1,000 cash bonus on your first deposit. Just enter promo code TGT50, that's TGT50, to take advantage of this offer. You can also go to thegruelingtruth.net, click the banner at the top of the page for MyBookie.ag, and also get the same benefit and the same $1,000 free cash bonus on your first deposit. So visit MyBookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth, and enjoy winning today. MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back on Survive Advance. I'm Mike Goodpaster here with Steve Risley, Lukas Weese. We want to thank Poncho Wright from the 1980 National Championship Louisville Cardinals for coming on the show today. All right, Lukas, Steve, now Lukas can talk. Lukas, let's...
Yeah, I know.
First off, let's look at this NCAA tournament, which I think the first weekend, I think was a little boring, but I think what that led to was maybe better matchups in the Sweet 16, and this was one of the best regional semifinals, regional finals I think we've ever seen.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think the first weekend, relatively boring because I think there wasn't that, 14 beating a 3, 15 beating a 2. There were some upsets, Liberty upset, but there wasn't that big bracket busting upset. I mean, all my Final Four were still alive heading into the second weekend. All 4 number 1 seeds were still alive. But then you get, as you say, Mike, to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 where it was fantastic basketball. It was close. It was thrilling. And when you look at the 4 Elite 8 games, it had the lowest average margin in Elite 8 history, I believe, in terms of the final score. And 3 of those 4 games went to OT, or 2 of those 4 went to OT. But it's incredible stuff. And it's setting up for a really fantastic Final Four, I think, Mike. I know some people are disappointed that, a big name like Duke isn't there, but you have great stories. Two programs that have never made the Final Four before. Michigan State, perennial basketball program, and, of course, Virginia trying to rebound from losing to a 16th seed a year ago and now trying to win it all. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend here in Minneapolis.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this so compelling, Steve, is you've got 2 programs that have never been there, a program in Virginia that hasn't been there since Terry Holland coached them in 1984, but then you've got Michigan State with Tom Izzo, who's been there. This will be the 8th time, but only won 1. I think, to me, this is a lot more interesting than if this was Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky.
I would agree entirely, Mike.
That, and also I really hate Kentucky. I just wanted to bring that up because I like to get that in on every show. Just so there's no mistaking it.
On every show.
Yeah.
I wrote down when I was taking notes here, and as we were talking, I wrote down, MSU, KG. They've got probably the best coach of the 4 coaches, but I don't know if they have the best talent, but they're playing great basketball. So I don't know. You got Auburn and Texas Tech, and I know, Mike, you don't think they're Cinderellas, but to me they're Cinderellas because they haven't been here before.
I think Auburn is a Texas Tech. I think Auburn's a Cinderella because when one of your best big men go down and you still beat Kentucky, who had blown you out by almost 30 points with that big man just a few weeks ago, I think Auburn is. I don't think Texas Tech is. Texas Tech's a team that was in the Elite 8 last year, and they're a team at the start of the year I told you would win the national championship, and you mocked me.
How you use that word mock? I don't mock. I disagree.
You know what? If they win the national championship, I'm going to go put all the clips of me talking good about Texas Tech and you mocking me together in one 480-minute clip, and I'm going to play it for everybody.
I think it would probably be the best-selling, most listened-to show we've ever done, Mike, if you did that. Then you've got Virginia, which is a team that's seeking redemption. And after what happened to them last year with BC, they're seeking redemption. And I would think, Mike, would you agree, or Lukas, either one, that Virginia is probably the most talented basketball team of the four in it. Is that fair to say? Or
they're the best team left, I think.
They're the most talented team left. They're not the best team left, but I've told everybody this all year, and even now Lukas mocks me. When I look at this, I think the Virginia-Auburn, when I first looked at this earlier in the week, Monday, when we had Brian Ralph on, I kind of wrote off Auburn's chances. But when you watch the film and you watch Virginia, I think the best way to beat Virginia is to be able to shoot over the top of it, like Carson Edwards did, or to beat it in transition. And, Lukas, when I look at this team, Auburn is a team that can do both of these things.
Well, for sure. And the great thing about Auburn is that they're gelling, and they're just red hot right now. They win the SEC tournament. You can make a case that they should have lost to New Mexico State, the guy that wide open three-pointer in the first round. And they go and beat Kansas, UNC, and Kentucky. And they can play any style. I mean, Kentucky wanted to be a half-court, defense, play a half-court game. But Auburn was comfortable jamming the lane and playing defense. And that game against Kentucky was the first time Auburn had scored 60 points or less and not lost. And I just think that the key for Auburn, in addition to shooting, threes, and this is a team that, lives and dies by the three. And, of course, my UNC Tar Heels experienced that firsthand when they shot 17 threes from beyond the arc. But I think it's how Bryce Brown and Jared Harper play. And Jared Harper is so quick in the lane. Like, that guy's just like road runner. He's so fast.
Yeah, but sometimes he's too fast, Lukas, and that's what I would worry about against a team like Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on in the game, there'll be some, jitters. It's, the Final Four. You're playing in a football stadium. They got to be careful of that. But in OT, Mike, against Kentucky, Harper scored 13 of those 26 points and was 6 for 6 from the free throw line. So I think, sure, you got to, lower the, reduce the speed and contain it. But, I mean, those two guards, my goodness, they're just putting on quite the show right now. And I think for Virginia, they're going to need to slow them down, because if they kept going and they get hot from three, this is going to be a closer game than I think people think, it's going to be.
Steve, what's your take on this game?
Auburn is so athletic. I think Auburn needs to get control of the tempo of the game. I think Lukas brought up a great point that if they get too racy and too athletic, that's going to work against them, because I think Virginia, very strong basketball team. They play as a team, and I've watched them play, and they're well coached. They play good as a collective group of kids out there, and they don't rattle very easily. But Auburn is a team. It's like Lukas said. They're going to come out. I think they are a Cinderella team. They're going to come into this mess, and I've been there, and I've done that. And I know how the hype gets and everything that happens there with it. So it's incumbent upon Auburn. Auburn can win this game, but they've got to slow their pace down, control their pace, and set the tempo of the game, and not let Virginia set the tempo of the game, is my thought process.
Yeah, and the other problem there is, I think, it's a lot easier to slow a game down than it is to speed it up. And you have veteran guards in Jerome and Guy. And I think I favor Virginia in this game just because of DeAndre Hunter, Lukas.
Oh, DeAndre Hunter's a beast. He's quite the defensive stopper. I see him, being quite the player in the NBA when he gets there. And I just think, look, I mean, Virginia's just a team that if 4 shots late, near the end of the shot clock, Auburn's going to be looking to force turnovers. I think that's going to be critical. If they could get some turnovers early, get out in the transition, I think they do have a shot. But when you're looking at the past 15 games for Virginia, their offensive efficiency is 123.3, and their defense allows 88.8 points per 100 possessions. That's just elite. And it's tough to bet against Virginia in this game.
How about this?
Going from three,
I would almost call this game close to a toss-up if Okeke was playing. Because Okeke, I think, is the only guy they've got that can guard DeAndre Hunter.
Exactly. 100% agree. I think if Okeke's in this game, Auburn has a legitimate chance because of how hot they can from three. It's just who is going to step up inside to defend Hunter. It's just a very difficult challenge because he's just that good. He's so athletic.
Yeah, and when I look at this, I think turnovers is huge too because Auburn basically lives off its defense's ability to force turnovers. They lead the country in forced turnover rate. But, Steve, Virginia is one of the most well-disciplined teams in the country. They only cough it up 14.7% of their possessions, which ranks, I think, 10th or 11th in the nation. So when you look at that, when I look at this game, I have a hard time getting past Kyle Guy and Jerome because the thing that sticks in my mind is an Elite Eight game where Carson Edwards hits everything, and those guys went down usually from behind and matched them every time.
Yeah, I wrote down on this game, I just wrote down a note while you guys were talking as I was listening. I think the team that wins this game is the team that makes the fewest mistakes. I think they're pretty evenly matched. Kyle Guy can be a little eccentric. He's a risk taker. He's a great player. There's no doubt. He's, I think, third-team All-American this year on the AP side. But he's a risk taker, and I think this is a game, again, where I think controlling tempo and controlling mistakes is what's going to win this game for somebody. It's going to be a close game. I agree with everybody. I got to favor Virginia just because of the talent pool that they have. But Auburn is a team, like Lukas said, that is just hotter than a pistol right now. And, we got hot in 1981 and made a run, and that got us a ring. So,
yeah, but also I think it's safe to say,
great
Steve,
Final Four.
I think it's safe to say, Steve, when you look at these teams and you look at the way Texas Tech, Michigan State, Auburn, and have handled teams, I think it's safe to say that all three of those teams are hot. Virginia just is consistent. So what's better, to be hot or consistent? Right. Because if you come out, I think what happens in this game, we're going to go ahead and make our pick now, but I think Virginia wins this game. I think they win it something like 68-56. I think that they'll get control of the game early. But if Auburn could jump out quickly, when I looked at that Kentucky game, Lukas, it seemed to me like Kentucky controlled the game, but they never got enough distance. It was 22-11 at one point. The next thing you know, it seems like Kentucky's winning by 10 at halftime, but they're only up by 2.
Exactly. When I was watching that game from press area in Kansas City, P.J. Washington was just outplaying Auburn. But you're right, Mike. They just couldn't get those extra buckets to go in to extend that lead. And then when Auburn gets on a little run, when they hit a three, when they get a fast lane point, they're very difficult to stop because then they get confident. Coach Pearl is yelling and animated like he always is. And this team is off to the races. So I think, the first 5 minutes first 10 minutes are going to be so crucial. If Auburn could get out in front, like you said, they have a chance. But they got to keep it within, a reasonable range come the second half. Because if Virginia's up by double digits, it's very difficult to stop. Because Purdue, to me, had a legitimate chance to win that game against Virginia. And you made the point, Mike. Carson Edwards shot lights out, but then Virginia just went back and did it again. And Virginia has such a great perimeter defense. So I think the Cavaliers, they're on a mission to redeem themselves after losing to a 16th seed last year.
All right, Steve, who you got? I know you love picking games.
I hate picking games. I hate doing this because it always comes back to haunt me. I've got to go with the consistency of Virginia right now. I just think that the way they play basketball, I think they'll control the tempo of this game, and they'll take Auburn a little bit out of sorts, get them out of sorts. If they can slow the pace down, and because Auburn is a very athletic basketball team, I've got to go with Virginia on this game. But I'm going to get burned. I know. So.
Well, you can't get burned because we would just all three be wrong then, Steve.
Yeah, there you
go.
Now,
right now, me and Lucas are second guessing whether we should have picked Auburn, but outside of that.
Yeah.
All right, I think the best matchup here, one of the best Final Four matchups in a few years, I think, or at least the most interesting, is Michigan State and Texas Tech. And Michigan State, I think, with Izzo, I don't care about what he did in the past. What he did this year, I think, may have been his best coaching job. I mean, he loses a few really important players early in the year. Hell, he lost to Indiana twice, and he still got him in the Final Four. And he beat a Duke team that's got three guys at least probably that are going to play in the NBA, and probably a couple of those guys are probably going to play in NBA All-Star games. Texas Tech is a program with Coach Beard. They've got Jarrett Culver, who I think is a guy we're going to see play in the NBA and do really well. And I think that Texas Tech is the best defensive team in the country. And the reason I say that is I think Gonzaga is probably the best offensive team in the country. And they held Gonzaga to 69 points. And I think if there's any coach in here that's just as good as Izzo, it's Beard. I don't care that he hasn't been there as much. I like Beard. I like Texas Tech in this game. I know that some of you guys are probably going to be morons and pick Michigan State. But on Monday, when we have our show, I will just say I told you so, Lucas.
Well, I think Texas Tech is the best defensive team remaining of these four. And look at the numbers.
Who's better that's not remaining?
I could make Virginia perhaps.
Virginia's still
in
in it.
Their numbers. No, they're still in it. Yeah, of the teams remaining.
Oh, okay.
Texas Tech is
yeah,
the
but
best
what
defense.
team that's not in it was better defensively?
I don't know. They're probably Michigan. You can make a case for Michigan. They were the second best team
this year.
You can't
make a case for Michigan. Texas Tech ran them out of the building.
You can make a case, but anyway,
you
look at the numbers for Texas Tech. They hold 84 points per 100 possessions. That's 2.4 points better than Michigan's second place. I think Chris Beard is an amazing coach, Mike. And when you think that this team last year made it to the Elite Eight, they lost 5 of their top 6 scorers, and he's still able to bring them back to their first Final Four in program history. That just shows you that Beard's a great coach. He's a Bob Knight disciple. So I think that, makes him a good coach. I think for Texas Tech, one of their Achilles heels is just how they can shoot from three. And I know that, they don't live and die by the three by no means. But in the 6 of their losses, they shot 33% or worse from three. And I think if Texas Tech wants to get hot from beyond the arc, they got to look at David Moretti or Matt Mooney, who have had, good 3-point percentages this year. I think for me with Michigan State, it's how they're going to slow down Cassius Winston. Because Cassius Winston, he can do so much. He can take the jump shot. He can drive the rim. He can make a good pass. But what they can't stop is his ability to be the emotional leader of this team. Duke was winning. They were in control. And then all of a sudden, Michigan State goes on a 13-0 run to lead by 4 at the half. And Cassius Winston is, the Big Ten Player of the Year, has turned into one of the most dynamic playmaking guards left right now in the Final Four. So I think for Texas Tech, they're going to need to slow down him and not make him the difference maker in this game.
Yeah, but don't you think, Lucas, with a team this good defensively and with a coach like Beard, that they're going to take that away just the way that I think that Izzo will take Culver away. And then it's going to be up to the rest of the team.
For sure.
And
no, I completely agree.
That's where I would have a hard time with Michigan State here, because I think Texas Tech is a deeper team. and I think the way they play defense, they can wear Cassius Winston out. And Indiana played kind of a scramble game against Winston and had 2 or 3 different guys guard him, stayed in his face the whole game, and actually won 2 games. Now, I think Culver is a slightly better player than Winston, but I think Winston will have more opportunities to impact the game offensively since, of course, he's the point guard. Steve, when you look at this game, what do you think the keys are?
Well, I think it's got a Big Ten flavor because Beard, obviously, as Lukas said, is a Bob Knight disciple. Bob Knight trained him pretty much for the most part, and he has a lot of respect for Coach and things. But you got Izzo, who I think arguably is probably the best tournament coach in college basketball right now. Regular season, I don't know about. Well, I
he's
think
won 1 championship in 8 years, and now he's better than Krzyzewski.
I know, but he's gotten up to the Final Four 8 times in his career, and he doesn't have the talent. He doesn't get the talent, but he has the coaching ability. So, in my opinion, it's going to come down to Texas Tech's talent, which is probably the most talented team in the tournament against
no way. Virginia's the most talented team left in the tournament. Duke was the most talented team.
Athletic. Yeah, but they're not in a tournament, so they're done.
I know.
They're toast.
Because they got beat.
But
because athletic ability doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, but Izzo, I think, just knows how to manipulate tournament play and how to get it done in tournaments. That's why you always, 8 Final Fours in his career is pretty daggone good. Now, I know he's only won 1. I get that. But to get him there year after year after year after year after year after year after year, I said it 8 times there. But I've kind of got to go with Texas Tech on this. I think
you mean Michigan
the athleticism of Texas Tech.
Or are you going with Texas Tech?
I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. I think that their athleticism is just going to overpower Izzo's brain. They're just too strong defensively.
See, I don't think so. I think Beard.
I don't think coaching.
Beard. I think this. If you take Winston away, no matter how great a coach Izzo is, I just don't think the rest of the players here are good enough to win this game, Lukas.
That's what I think. I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike. I think the depth of Texas Tech outweighs the depth of Michigan State, and I think if MSU is going to pull off this upset, and it's crazy I'm saying it's an upset given that they're a 2 seed and Texas Tech's a 3 seed, but they're going to pull off this upset. It's a couple things. One is MSU's Tom Izzo's a tough coach. I mean, he got in players' faces. He's animated. He inspires them.
But so does Beard.
He does, but Tom Izzo, I mean, Steve said, 8 Final Fours, and he's done this before. Can he do this again on a big stage like this is a certain question. And if he can, then MSU has a good chance. And I think it's just going to be the other supporting cast players. If they go off and just have a great game, then I think the Spartans can advance. But it's the old mantra that's said in football: defense wins championships. And I think the same could be said in college basketball.
Yeah, I think defense, not turning the ball over. And the thing about Texas Tech is, I think Texas Tech's the best team in the country because I think they got the best defense. But I also think that Virginia's really close to them defensively. But I think the difference is, I think Texas Tech has been the more consistent offensive team this year.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case. And Jared Culver, I mean, this is someone who I think is going to be a top 5 pick in this NBA draft, and he's going to make quite the impact when he becomes pro. So, but I think with both these matchups, it's going to be exciting. I think whatever comes out of it's going to turn out to be, I think, a good Monday final. I think in terms of a matchup, the best would probably be right now Virginia, Texas Tech. But we'll see. It's March Madness for a reason.
You know what I
right,
think,
friend?
Lucas? Real quick, this may sound nuts. I think that's the closest game. I think the most interesting matchup would be Auburn against Texas Tech. The way Auburn plays against the way Texas Tech plays. Yeah.
Yeah, complete contrast.
Because I think it's possible that Texas Tech could actually force Auburn to play so fast that Texas Tech may beat them like they did Michigan.
Yeah, it would turn into a kill.
Yeah. Where you get the little Harper kid running around in circles and everybody trying to figure out where he's going.
Throwing the ball over and Texas smothering them, yeah.
Yeah. But, all right, Steve, what else you got? We could talk about anything you want. We got like 10 minutes.
Did you want to address the Kyle Guy NCAA? I think that got refuted last night on Twitter, didn't it?
They refuted, but why would Kyle Guy lie about it? And I've went through all kind of stupid NCAA rules where when they bust somebody for it and they self-report, there's been multiple times when the NCAA has come out and said, we never told them that was the rule. So I really believe Kyle Guy over a scumbag organization like the NCAA and Mark Emmert, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and of course, anybody that's listening to it still, it's a deal where Kyle Guy was told he could not accept wedding gifts. He's getting married, apparently, actually to a girl from my son's high school. My son actually knows the girl he's marrying.
Can we get her on the show?
Probably could. I don't know.
Let's do it.
I don't know.
Maybe we can report live from the wedding. We'll fly Lukas in.
It came out on a Twitter report yesterday that he was being told that he could not accept wedding gifts as long as he was under scholarship from the NCAA. Now, I did see later that the NCAA came back out and said that's not true. We never said that. So I don't know where it all stands right now, but just even the thought process.
I really don't think Kyle Guy is going to lie about that.
I don't either, because I think Kyle Guy's a fine young gentleman. I mean, I know his family well, and he's a good kid. I don't know why he would make that up and do that. But, again, it's just a situation where – and, Mike, you and I had an off-the-air conversation about this. Is who runs the NCAA? And do the college presidents run the NCAA?
Correct.
I mean, do they dictate what the NCAA can do or not do, or does Emmert just say, we're so powerful now, we run the college presidents? What happens here? Because this needs to change. This whole thing needs to change in some fashion.
Well, Mark Emmert runs it, and he's a scumbag. I mean, come on. I mean, I can't stand Kentucky, but, Auburn has more recently had a coach get in trouble than Kentucky has. And you don't even hear it brought up. I mean, didn't Bruce Pearl lose an assistant here within last year on the FBI investigation, Lukas?
Yes.
But we don't worry about that, right? Just like North Carolina.
Seems to be a selective
I mean,
process,
if you're a North Carolina Tar Heel fan, you should be ashamed of yourself, Lukas.
I separate the basketball from the politics.
Yeah, but there's no politics when your basketball team cheats. See, we're Indiana fans, and outside of some text from Calvin Sampson, we're pretty solid, I think. Of course, we don't have to worry about going to the NCAA tournament. But
there you go.
That's why we can't win it. That's why we can't go to the tournament.
Can't win the NIT. Can't even go to the tournament.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're okay.
They went to the NIT, and they won a couple games, so I don't want to hear it.
I thought you didn't care about the NIT, Mike.
I don't. I could care less about the NIT. But they were in it, for what it's worth. All right, Steve, come on. You usually have all kind of questions when we have extra time.
No, I'm run out. I'm run out. There's been a lot going on. There's not a lot going on in sports. I don't know. I haven't figured out baseball yet. Dodgers are looking like crap out here, apparently, from what I've heard. So
Phillies are off to a great start, undefeated.
I thought they lost yesterday, or they lost to the Nationals like a day or two ago, didn't they?
Well, they were 4-0, and then they must have lost, but they're playing well, so they're off to a good start, and it's exciting to see. It was exciting to see Bryce hit a home run in Nationals Park, and hear more Phillies fans cheering than Nationals fans booing. So, but yeah, it's exciting time in sports.
Wait a second, you're a North Carolina fan. What do you think about the North Carolina basketball coach Sylvia Hagel?
I don't even know the situation, so I can't comment.
She told her players they would get hanged from trees with nooses if they didn't improve.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of that. Kind of excessive.
It's all stupid. You like the New York Jets' new uniforms, Lucas?
They're like the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's what I thought, too, when I saw it.
So I bet they're filing a copyright complaint right now.
Probably. So who do you like in the women's Final Four, Steve?
Who's playing?
UConn. They're a safe
I have
pick.
no idea. I don't even go that way with me. I have no idea.
Steve, next week is the Masters, so it's going to be exciting.
I wanted to talk golf, but Mike didn't want to talk golf.
No, I told you, Lucas, and Brian Hammonds ought to do a special show so we don't have a Survive in Advance where, like, 14 people listen again, like that time we tried NASCAR. There you go. See, Steve, he agrees.
I'll get it. We'll set it up next week.
Set up like a special Survive in Advance in the evening with you, Brian Hammonds, and Lucas.
Let's do it.
Well, you got to be on, Mike.
Why do I have to be on? Why do I need to be punished?
Because you're a co-host.
Because you're...
Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn over my co-hosting capabilities to Lucas for that day.
Ooh. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Oh, I know it's not, Lucas, but I'm going to do it anyway.
There you go.
It's not a good idea to leave Steve by himself, but now it seems like Alex Gray can handle him on the NASCAR show, so we're all right.
Oh, that's good.
Steve can handle it.
Enjoy the Final Four, gentlemen. It's going to be great.
Yep, and we'll be back. We'll be back Monday to break down or look back at the Final Four games and to preview the final. And Lucas, I think you're going to join us, Brian, for that also. All right.
Let's do it.
Steve, any final words?
Have fun.
Okay. Very prophetic final words. Similar to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up. Do you know what that is, Lucas, since you're a Canadian?
7 years ago, our fathers, blah, blah, blah.
Our forefathers.
Forefathers? Okay. There you go.
Who had forefathers? All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. And today, of course, is Diversity Day at the Grueling Truth, which is why we had a Canadian on. So, we will be back Monday with the Canadian again, and Brian Ralph from Fansided. And Lucas, real quick, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet.
At Weese Sports on Twitter. It's going to be a great weekend. Lots of content being flowed there.
All right, guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I want to remind everybody I'll be back in an hour with Bobby Sheridan, as we will have the Sheridan Report, all the top plays of the day, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. 11 o'clock tonight, me and Jeremiah Pricer will have the Inside Boxing Daily Show. I want to thank Poncho for coming on, Lucas for coming on, and Steve for being Steve. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Poncho Wright, Lucas Weese, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.